Do you struggle with goal setting or achieving your goals? Are you frustrated where you are in your life right now and you want to get to a better version of yourself or a better point in your life, but you just can't figure it out? This video is for you. I'm going to take you through my step-by-step process of goal setting so that you can actually realize the goals that you're setting and navigate those roadblocks along the way, because you are not alone. Everybody struggles with goal setting, myself included, current, former athletes, everyone in between. You are not alone. So I'm excited to share with you my process of how I've gone by iterating my goal setting process so that it works for me. And hopefully you guys can take away something that you can implement in your lives to help you on your journeys. All right, so let's talk about first why even set goals in the first place, especially if we find ourselves not even reaching the outcome that we're intending, right? That kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Well, actually, goal setting helps you way more than you think it does. It's a driver for success, regardless if you reach your goal. Because what happens is you're actually going to be pushing yourself further than you would have if you didn't set that goal. So even if you're missing the mark, it's still progress. Now, another important thing to note is setting the goal, what it does is it puts onto paper in real language what you want to achieve. That gives you a sense of direction of where you want to take your life. And that's a crucial aspect to not only personal development, but becoming more than an athlete. So you need to be able to articulate what it is that you want to achieve. So if you're a current athlete, what those areas in your performance that you want to improve. And if you're a former athlete, what are the areas that you want to fill in that gap that sports once held. So I'm all for goal setting, but it's still a frustrating process, right? There's so many challenges that you have going through it, right? You face things like a lack of motivation. You have life that comes up, right? Suddenly you have these distractions, relationships, friends, family, school, work, health, like all these things sort of come in and kind of shake up what you're intending and doesn't really allow you to stick to your plan, right? But what I want to stress is that it's not about being perfect, right? It's about being imperfect, but making progress, right? So goal setting is about being better than you were before, not being 10 out of 10, 100% who you should be, because that's unrealistic. It's not going to it's not going to happen. That's why we call this a development journey, because you are constantly getting better. So now that we understand that we should set goals, they're important and we can actually achieve them, let's dive into the types of goals that we can set and the process of goal setting. So there's various types of goals that you can set, right? There are short-term goals, there are long-term goals. You might find yourself in periods of extreme change where you want to set goals. That's how I work. I just have a natural energy that kind of flows with me over time. Like when it's my birthday, which was actually last month, I get to a point where I'm like, okay, time to set new goals, because you feel like a newer version of you, or the classic New Year's resolution. I'm big on New Year's resolutions and setting goals for the new year. Also, you have things like every quarter people might set goals, or even every month and every week, right? So there's various types of goals. And they're all important, right? It's very individualistic. I really want to stress that just because I set goals around my birthday doesn't mean you have to, right? Like what matters is that you're setting goals at times that you feel like you need to develop yourself, right? And that might be constantly. And if it's constantly, great. And if it's once a year, it's once a year. But you need to understand what works best for you. So when setting those goals, if you want to have that 5-year plan, great. If you're like, absolutely not, that terrifies me, let's just focus on today, great too. We'll talk about how you can navigate any timeline really that you're setting. All right, so now onto the nitty gritty of identifying the goals you're trying to set and how do we actually set them so that we can achieve them. Well, the first step is understanding the gaps in your life, right? This is the first step in my process. I look at my life and I say, okay, life can be boiled down to just a few areas. If you really want to be high level, you can really say health, wealth, and relationships. I like to add business and happiness to that as well. But like I said, everyone's different. Classically, you hear health, wealth, relationships. And you basically have to look at your life and give yourself like a natural score on that, right? How would you say you feel about how you're doing in those areas, right? Are your relationships solid? How's your health doing? How's your wealth, right? How are your businesses or your career, right? And then how's your overall happiness? And kind of see where the gap is, right? Like, where do you really see yourself falling short? That's where I would start off with your goal setting journey and say, okay, I'm really slacking in the health department. Let's think about the goals that I can set to kind of be better. Once you found that gap, the next step is then thinking, okay, well, what is my ideal self or the next version of myself, the best version of myself doing in that department? So when it comes from a health perspective, well, maybe they're, someone who, in my case, lifts 4 days a week, right? Strength training 4 days a week, right? And if you're not doing right now, then you've just identified the gap, right? You have a goal to be a version of you that strength trains 4 days a week. So now that you have that, you might have a long ass list about it, and that's fine. Doesn't really matter how long the list is. You could have one goal, you can have 20. You're going to boil it down at the end of the day. But the first thing is just get sort of that idea of what you're looking for. Then what you need to do is you need to go through the SMART goal process. So let's talk about SMART goals. So SMART goals, you've probably heard that all over the internet. Everybody talks about them, and it's honestly because they work. They're a way of writing your goals so that they're achievable, right? So SMART goals is actually an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So what that means is when you're setting a goal, you need to be specific. Don't be vague. No one's going to come out and say, oh my God, you're setting this goal to, strength train 4 days a week. Like, that's insane. Like, do you really think you can do that? Take those negative thoughts out. We don't need them here. We don't need the second guessing. We don't need the perfectionism. Go out the door. We're just looking for progress. Okay. So let's take that example. You want a specific goal, 4 days a week strength training. That's specific, right? It's measurable. You're measuring it by the days, how many days of the week that you're strength training. Okay. It is achievable. That's a realistic goal, right? You have room for rest as well and room for other areas of your life. Great. Okay. It's relevant to you because the gap that you found is that you're slacking sort of in that health department when it comes to those areas of your life that you'd like to improve on. Great. And then it's time bound, right? It's 4 days a week. And maybe you want to do that consistently for the next 3 to 6 months or a year, or maybe it's something that doesn't end and it's more formed like a habit. Either way, as long as you can measure it, you're good. That is the SMART goal process. It might get a little bit more complex when you get to different areas of your life, and it might be a little hard to kind of judge the context. Don't overthink it, guys. Don't overthink it. Just be as detailed as you can and as simple as you can, right? That is really the goal here. I would love to hear sort of what your goals are right now, what you're working towards. So leave them in the comments. Let me know what's going on. Let's hype each other up and see what you guys got going on. That strength training goal actually that I've just explained through here is one of my goals. So I'm super excited to be kind of sticking to that and making sure that I'm on that. And it's been something that I'm happily pursuing. So now that we've understand the goals that we want to set, I want to talk about the process of actually executing, because that is really the hardest part. But before we jump in, if you're liking this video so far and you want to tag along on my personal development journey, then hit that subscribe button so that you never miss one of my videos, and welcome to the team. All right. So yes, goal setting is challenging, but once you set that goal, really the hardest part is execution. What are the challenges that you can face? Lack of motivation, distractions are a big thing as well. You might have external influences. Life just comes up. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't set goals. We know we should, but how do we navigate those roadblocks as they come up? Now, the first thing I would do is before you even start pursuing that goal, once you've kind of written that down, you have that SMART goal, you know what you're trying to achieve, you start thinking about what are those kind of triggers and roadblocks that would come up. So for example, from that strength training goal example, strength training 4 days a week for the next 6 months. Okay, what is a roadblock that can come up? Well, I work full time, so that can get in the way. I want to also maintain my friendships and my relationships with my family, and I might have those commitments to go to, and then I might say yes to one thing and no to working out. What else can come up? I might not feel like it. I might be tired. So those are already 3 roadblocks that I'm just thinking of that I haven't even experienced yet. That's already going to be kind of pushing me into a corner out of fear of not being able to accomplish the goal. But the reason it's important to think about these roadblocks is because now you can start to think of, okay, how am I going to navigate when that happens? You can't think of everything. There's going to be roadblocks that you're just going to have to, go with the tide, right? Ride the wave as it comes through. But the more you're able to prepare now, you're able to kind of alter your mindset to a growth mindset rather than one that's going to be diminishing you and pushing you into a corner. So let's talk about how we get to that growth mindset. So, okay, I have commitments that come up. Well, what's something I can do to surpass that? If I have work, I know that I work relatively 9 to 5 hours, 8 to 6, depending on my timing. So I know I have to be done my workout by 8 a.m. or I can work out after 6 p.m. Put a time block in your calendar. That is going to be my workout session. Okay, but what about friends and family commitments? Well, you have 4 days a week. So 4 days a week strength training, you still have the rest of the week to hang out with friends and family, or you have that time after you've worked out. So what you can do is you can set a boundary in your relationships and say, okay, I'm good to hang out. If it's a day I'm strength training, it's got to be after my strength training. Or we can do something if you want more time with me, we can do something on a day that I'm not training. Perfect. You've navigated that. And then what about if you're not feeling up for it? Like what kind of motivation do you need? Now, this is probably the most important part. What you need is your why. What is your personal why for setting the goal? This goes right back to the very first step that you did. The first step you did was you identified those major gaps that you see in your life. So your why is, why do you want to go from someone who doesn't strength train 4 days a week to someone who does? What part of your identity are you trying to realize, right? For me, that is personally always being an athlete. I want that to always be part of my identity. And I know the moment I stop playing sports and stop training, I'm going to lose that. And I know that's a fundamental part of me and a fundamental part of the best version of me. And so that's why I have to pursue that goal. Now, I understand that there's going to be times where, your health has to come first, both physical and mental. And maybe you won't work out 4 days, but you work out 3. But like I said, what is it about? It's about progress, not perfection, right? If I'm working out 3 to 4 days a week, every single week, maybe I took a week off 1 week over those 6 months, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. Anything 80% and over, I've achieved that goal, right? Like I told you guys in the last video, Pareto principle, we want 80% of that effort to get to those results. So that's when you really have to identify and clearly articulate what your personal why is. Write it down for each goal, because you will have a different why for each goal, or maybe you won't. It's highly dependent on yourselves. But once you've done that, then you're able to set yourself up for having that growth mindset, and you're able to navigate those roadblocks as they come up. So let's summarize the process of goal setting and how you're going to go about executing this, because we've talked about a lot in this video. The first thing is you need to identify the gaps that are in your life from your current self to the future self that you're trying to become. Look at your health, your wealth, your relationships, your business, your career, your happiness. How are you doing in those areas? Where can you improve the most? And then be more specific, right? What is it that you want to achieve in those areas? And then formulate them into SMART goals. Guys, use AI. AI is here to help you. ChatGPT can help you articulate how you put those goals into specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. All you have to do is ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm trying to set a weight loss goal for this or a muscle gain goal for this. Turn this into a SMART goal that I achieve in 6 months. Helps you get to your decision. Use the tools that you have around you. After you have your SMART goal, then you're going to start thinking about those roadblocks that are going to come up, right? Start thinking about what you would need to do to overcome them and setting the foundation to cultivate that growth mindset. And then from there, identifying your personal why for each one of those goals that you're setting so that you're able to navigate the fluctuations in motivation that you feel throughout the journey. And from there, you have that foundation set up. All you need to do is track your progress. And whether that's, turning your monthly goals into weekly goals, your quarterly goals into monthly goals, whatever that looks like, to make sure you're making continuous progress. Before we end off this video, I just want to stress, guys, all you really need to do is focus on progress, right? Set the goal, follow the system, and see yourself improve, and then give yourself a pat on the back and keep going. Keep going, because you're only going to become better. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and hit that subscribe button. Would love to have you following along so you don't miss the video. But I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for your support.